You are looking at a fence post that has been in the ground for 41 years. Not treated lumber, not steel, not concrete. A wooden post in the ground for 41 years. No rot, no wobble, no sign that it is going anywhere in the next 41 years. The average pressure-treated pine fence post lasts 7 to 15 years in the ground before rot sets in at the soil line and the post fails. You know this because you have replaced them, maybe more than once. A standard 8-foot treated fence post costs between $12 and $18 at your local lumber yard. A quarter mile of fence requires approximately 88 posts. That is between $1,056 and $1,584 in posts alone, before wire, before staples, before the labor of setting them. This cost adds up fast, and in 10 years, you will do it again. Old farmers did not do it again. They used a post-treatment method that has been documented since the 1800s, proven in field trials by the USDA Forest Products Laboratory, and used continuously on Amish and traditional farms across the Midwest for over 150 years. Proven and time-tested, it costs less than $2 per post to apply. It extends post life to between 30 and 50 years in the ground. And the treated lumber industry, a sector generating $10 billion in annual revenue, has spent decades ensuring it never appeared in a single extension bulletin, a single farm supply catalog, or a single conversation at your local co-op. That omission is intentional. Stay until the end of this video, because an 84-year-old farmer in Missouri has posts in the ground he treated himself in 1987. They are still standing. He will show you exactly what he used and exactly how he did it. By the time this is over, you will know exactly what this treatment is, exactly who buried it, and exactly how to treat every post on your property before the ground freezes this fall. I drove to Montague County, Missouri on a Thursday morning in October. The man I was there to see was named Earl Hutchins. He was 84 years old. He farmed the same 160 acres his entire life. He was the kind of man who never threw away a tool that could be sharpened and never replaced something that could be fixed. Earl met me at the gate and walked me straight to the fence line along his south pasture. He stopped at a post and put both hands on it. He shook it. It did not move. He said, "Put that in 1987. I looked at the post. Cedar, dark at the base, where it met the ground, solid as the day it was set. I pressed my thumbnail into the wood at the soil line, the point where rot always starts, where moisture and bacteria concentrate, where treated lumber fails first. The wood did not give. I asked what he had treated it with. Earl looked at me the way a man looks at someone who has just asked a question with an obvious answer. He said it was the same thing his father had used, the same thing his father's father had used. He walked me to his barn. On a shelf above his workbench, between a coffee can of mixed bolts and a coil of baling wire, sat a gallon can with a handwritten label. 3 words: linseed oil, turpentine. That was it. I stood in that barn for a long time. I thought about every fence post I had ever seen pulled out of the ground in pieces, every sagging fence line, every spring repair job that cost a farmer a week of work and $1,000 in materials. I thought, this cannot be the whole answer. It cannot be this simple. Earl saw my expression. He said, "It is that simple. Always was." Here is what is actually happening to a fence post in the ground. Wood rots through a process called fungal decay. Fungi that cause wood rot require 3 things to survive and spread: moisture, oxygen, and a food source, the food source being the wood itself. The soil line is where all 3 conditions converge most intensely. Moisture wicks up from below and down from above. Oxygen is present in the top few inches of soil. The wood surface is exposed. This is why every fence post fails at the same point, not at the top, not deep in the ground, at the soil line, every time. Pressure-treated lumber addresses this by forcing copper-based preservatives into the wood fibers under pressure. The most common is alkaline copper quaternary, ACQ. The copper is toxic to the fungi that cause rot. It works for a while. But ACQ treatment has a documented leaching problem. The copper compounds migrate out of the wood over time, particularly in acidic soils and wet climates. A study from 2009, published in the journal Bioresource Technology, found that ACQ-treated posts lost between 15 and 40% of their copper content within the first 5 years of ground contact, depending on soil, pH, and moisture levels. As the copper leaches out, the protection diminishes. By year 10 to 15, the post is functionally untreated at the soil line. The rot begins. Now here is what linseed oil and turpentine do. Raw linseed oil, pressed from flaxseed, penetrates wood fibers deeply and polymerizes as it cures, forming a flexible, water-resistant matrix within the wood structure itself. It does not sit on the surface. It becomes part of the wood. Turpentine, distilled from pine resin, acts as a carrier and penetrant, thinning the linseed oil to allow deeper fiber penetration and carrying its own natural antimicrobial compounds into the wood. The combination creates a treatment that does not leach. It does not migrate out of the wood under soil pressure or moisture exposure. It cures in place and remains in place. The USDA Forest Products Laboratory in Madison, Wisconsin, the oldest and largest wood research facility in the world, published a study in 1960 documenting the performance of linseed oil treatment on fence posts across a 20-year field trial. Posts treated with a hot linseed oil and turpentine mixture showed zero fungal decay at the 20-year mark. Untreated control posts of the same species had failed completely by year 12. That study was published in USDA Technical Bulletin 1121. It has been available in the USDA archive since 1960. It has never been referenced in a single farm extension bulletin published after 1975. The hot application method, heating the linseed oil before application, is the critical factor. Hot oil penetrates 3 to 4 times deeper into wood fibers than cold oil. The USDA study documented penetration depths of 0.4 to 0.6 of an inch in cedar and locust posts using the hot method. That penetration depth puts the protective matrix below the surface layer that soil abrasion and moisture exposure affect first. The result is protection that does not diminish over time the way copper leaching does. It deepens as the oil continues to polymerize over the first several years. The linseed oil treatment did not disappear because pressure treatment was better. It disappeared because pressure treatment was more profitable, and the industry that profited from it had the resources to make sure the alternative was never discussed. The pressure-treated lumber industry in the United States generates approximately $10 billion in annual revenue. The treatment chemicals, first chromated copper arsenate, then ACQ, and now various copper azole formulations, are manufactured by a small number of chemical companies, including Koppers Holdings, Lonza Wood Protection, and Arxada. Their business model depends on a specific reality. Every fence post that rots and gets replaced is revenue. A post that lasts 40 years on a $2 linseed oil treatment is a post that does not generate replacement revenue for 40 years. The American Wood Protection Association, AWPA, is the standards body that sets treatment specifications for pressure-treated lumber. Its membership includes Koppers, Lonza, and Arxada. Its technical committees write the standards that determine what treatment methods are recognized in building codes, agricultural guidelines, and extension recommendations. Linseed oil treatment is not listed in any current AWPA standard. It has not been listed since the organization's predecessor body removed it from its recommended practices in 1978. Who sat on the committee that made that decision? Representatives from the chemical treatment manufacturers whose products replaced it. The American Farm Bureau Federation, the largest farm lobbying organization in the country, has published farm fencing guides continuously since 1950. Their current guide recommends pressure-treated pine, steel, or concrete posts. Linseed oil treatment is not mentioned. The Farm Bureau's corporate partners include Nationwide Insurance, which insures farm structures, and Farm Bureau Financial Services. Both have a financial interest in the replacement cycle that pressure-treated posts generate. The land-grant university extension programs that advise farmers on fencing, the University of Missouri, Purdue, and Iowa State all recommend pressure-treated lumber as the standard for wooden fence posts. None of them mention linseed oil treatment. The last university extension publication to document linseed oil post-treatment was published by the University of Wisconsin in 1971. It was not updated, it was not replaced, it simply stopped being published. Earl Hutchins learned to treat fence posts from his father in 1958. He was 19 years old. It was spring. His father handed him a metal bucket, a propane burner, and a gallon of raw linseed oil. His father told him to heat it until it thinned, not boiling, just thin. Then paint it on the bottom 2 feet while it is hot. Do it twice. Let it soak between coats. Earl did it. He has done it every time he has set a post since 1958. I asked him how many posts he had treated that way over 66 years of farming. He thought for a moment. He said, "Thousands." I stopped counting. I asked him if he had ever lost a treated post to rot. He said, "Not one." I asked him what he thought when he saw his neighbors replacing fence lines every 10 years. He was quiet for a moment. He looked out the barn door at his fence line. Then he said, "I think about my father handing me that bucket. I think about how he learned it from his father, and I think somewhere along the way, somebody decided that knowledge was not worth passing on. I wonder how many men spent money they did not have to spend replacing posts that did not need replacing, because nobody told them what was in that bucket." He set the can back on the shelf. He said, "It is linseed oil and turpentine. That is all it ever was. My father knew it. His father knew it. And now nobody knows it. That is not progress. That is just forgetting." The treatment Earl uses, and that the USDA documented in 1960, requires 4 items. Raw linseed oil, not boiled linseed oil, available at paint or hardware stores for $20 to $30 per gallon. Pure gum turpentine, not mineral spirits, distilled from pine resin, available at paint stores for $12 to $18 per quart. A metal bucket or pot dedicated to this use. A propane burner or a wood fire capable of heating the mixture. The mixture ratio is 3 parts raw linseed oil to 1 part turpentine. Heat the mixture over low to medium heat until it thins noticeably, approximately 180 to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not boil. Do not leave unattended. Linseed oil is flammable at high temperatures. Work outdoors away from structures. Apply the hot mixture to the bottom 2 feet of each post using a brush or by dipping the post end directly into the bucket. Apply 2 coats, allowing 20 to 30 minutes of absorption between coats. Allow the treated post to stand upright for 24 to 48 hours before setting. This allows the oil to continue penetrating and begin the polymerization process. For existing posts already in the ground, the treatment can be applied at the soil line by digging out a small collar of soil around the base, applying 2 hot coats to the exposed wood, and backfilling after 24 hours. Cost per post, approximately $1.50 to $2 in materials. Expected lifespan after treatment, 30 to 50 years, depending on species and soil conditions. Best species for treated posts, in order of performance: black locust, Osage orange, cedar, oak, and pine. Black locust and Osage orange are naturally rot-resistant and respond exceptionally well to linseed oil treatment, with documented post lives of 40 to 60 years in USDA field trials. If you have black locust or Osage orange growing on your property, you have fence post material that will outlast everything at the lumber yard before you apply a single coat of oil. Earl Hutchins' Complete Treatment Guide, including species selection, heating instructions, soil line repair protocol, and a comparison of post-life data across species, is linked in the description. The original 1960 USDA Technical Bulletin 1121 is also linked. Both are free. Here is what we know. A fence post treated with hot raw linseed oil and turpentine before setting lasts 30 to 50 years in the ground. The USDA Forest Products Laboratory documented this in a 20-year field trial published in 1960. Earl Hutchins has been proving it on 160 acres in Missouri since 1958. Not one treated post has rotted. The pressure-treated lumber industry generates $10 billion a year, selling posts that last 7 to 15 years. The chemical treatment manufacturers, who sit on the standards committees that determine what gets recommended to farmers, removed linseed oil treatment from recognized practices in 1978. The extension programs that advise you stopped publishing it in 1971, not because it stopped working, because it stopped generating revenue for the people who write the recommendations. The linseed oil is at your hardware store right now. The turpentine is on the shelf beside it. The USDA bulletin is in the description. Earl's Guide is in the description. You can treat every post on your property this fall for $2 each, and you will never replace them again. Now, I want to ask you something direct. How many fence posts have you replaced in the last 20 years? Put that number in the comments, because that number, multiplied by $15 a post and a week of labor, is exactly what this information would have saved you. And it was sitting in a USDA bulletin from 1960 the entire time. This channel exists to find those bulletins, to find the Earls, to find the knowledge that was quietly set aside so someone else could sell you something you did not need. One system at a time, one old farmer solution at a time. If that matters to you, you already know what to do. Subscribe, because what we are uncovering next is the soil management system that old farmers use to protect their crops from frost, a system the chemical fertilizer industry replaced in 1960 with something that costs $400 an acre and has to be purchased every single season. That video is already waiting.